All right, day two. I pulled the diff cover and stuff last night, drained all the fluid, flipped it over, last night and let it all drain off into that bucket. And then before I went to bed, I put about a half a gallon of purple power in it and some water and just really been rotating it to clean it all up. Here, I'll make the carrier turn here in a sec. Yeah, so that's all just purple power and water, and I've just been getting all it, it all degreased before I take it apart. So after I drain this, I'm going to pull the bearing caps and mark everything so they go back on the same sides. Then I'll pull the carrier and the axles, or I'll pull the axles first, then the carrier. And Scott's going to come over tonight because I don't have the Ford here. We're going to throw it in the back of the Jeep, take it up to the car wash, power wash out the case, and ideally remove the carrier bearings and pinion bearings tonight and kind of hone the pinion bearings inside ID a little bit so we can use it as the test bearing for the setup, and then we'll start building. All right, got the carrier out, marked everything, or at least laid it out. You'll see a little water in there, that's why I've been degreasing and rinsing it out, but laid it all out in the correct order, left and right side, so there's no drama on the reinstall. Everything looks good. Not a lot of metal. I don't see anything that is wildly off. But again, the pinion I have not taken out yet, and it was the main cause for all of this. So whenever I get it pulled, I'll continue on. All right, day two. I don't own a bearing press, but was able to successfully remove the pinion bearing without really damaging anything. It got hot, but to no consequence, I don't think. I guess I'll find out, but I can't imagine it did anything other than the pinion got hot. So, the way I've been doing it is busting off the outer sleeve of the bearing that actually holds all the rollers in, as you can see. And then I'm just left with the race of the bearing, the pressed on race of the bearings. So I did the same thing with the pinion, getting it hot, and then being sweet with it with an air hammer. And you can see that race right there that I took off the pinion. It popped right off, no problem. About 10 seconds with the air hammer. Just made sure not to hit the shaft, of course, of the pinion at all. And I'll have to be real careful on the carrier whenever I start to pull these races off. All right, carrier bearings removed. It was a bitch, naturally, without a bearing press. So I'm letting them cool down a little bit because me and my torch and a combination of the air hammer, that pipe wrench, and a grinder is what was necessary to get all the bearings off. So now, these are my new axle bearings and seals, and this is a seal slash race slash bearing driver kit that I picked up at Harbor Freight, $30. There's a bunch of goobers on the internet that say you just use the old race, you'll be fine. It's just like, this is a hard case. It was $30 and the guy gave me 20% off. So I've got all the axle bearings and stuff out, and I'm gonna start to drive these in, and then hopefully the carriers cool down enough and I'll start on that. Okay, bearing number one in. The driver set worked amazing. No problems whatsoever. I oiled the bearing with some gear oil before I installed it, and I also oiled the bearing surface there where it contacts the axle tube. So I'm going to drive the seal in on that side and on this side and go over to that side and knock it out. All right. I got all the race surfaces cleaned and prepped. That's one of the pinion race surfaces. I cleaned it all up with a wire wheel. They're immaculate. This carrier bearing surface needs a little bit more work, but I'm not putting the carrier in yet. So I'm going to start driving the races in and then playing with the pinion. Yeah. So all right, I got the big race of the 2 pinion bearings set on the opposite side. And I just got this guy all cleaned up. This fucking camera would focus. So I'm about to install this bearing race. And then I can work on getting the pinion bearing onto the actual pinion for testing purposes. So I can start looking at my pinion depth. And you do that by looking at the contact patch on the ring gear and the pinion after you get the pinion set and the ring gear. So more to come. All right, I got the races installed, both of them fully seated. That little race driver kit is the shit. So now, I don't know if you can, you probably can't see that because of the light, but now I'm going inside to boil the big bearing because I don't have a hydraulic press. While that's boiling, I'm going to measure the old crush sleeve with my digital dial caliper and then see where I need to start with the shims on my new RA Tech solid pinion spacer. So more to come. Naturally, it started raining, so I'm inside now. This is the first backlash test with the dial indicator. Set up at 90 degrees the best I could in the ring gear. So we'll see what happens. Okay, I officially have backlash set correctly. I don't know if I can get out of the shadow, or stop casting a shadow rather. Alright, I will zero my dial indicator. Yeah. Zero this direction. See. It's at a 6/6,000th of an inch. The rear diff's done, finally. 3 days. I settled on a backlash of about 5, which it's within spec because it's from 3 to 6,000ths. And it feels awesome, really. I mean, it's not too stiff, not too loose. I mean, of course, the inch-pound wrench tells you that, but yeah, it needs fluid. And then the nightmare of reinstalling my drum brakes. Then test drive. Okay, filled with fluid. Cover is on. And naturally, it's wet outside. So I'm
building it inside.
Torque all these down and then go outside. All right, just got the install done. It is pouring rain. Got soaked while doing it. And I'm taking it for the first test drive. I'm pulling out the backyard right now. We are rolling with my new rear differential build. So I'm gonna go get on the highway, I-10, put some speed behind it, and make sure everything's good.